In the world of Minecraft, we are the masters of our own journey and our own destiny. All the houses, buildings, and mob farms we build make us feel more powerful. Now, imagine how Chris Dalkall felt after building the entire universe inside the game. The journey of the man who literally became God begins with an analysis of the entire Earth globe. He used measuring tapes, design software, programming, and a lot of talent for this. Initially, the first planet to be built will clearly be our beloved Earth. Chris wants to precisely recreate every detail, including the exact positions of continents, seas, deserts, and forests. In addition, all the exact colors of these places were also included to give the project more authenticity. Earth alone took at least 3 full days of work. Now the next task is to set up how the external lighting of outer space will appear. We'll need to replicate bright, dense light objects and also create the darkness of space limbo. Since Minecraft lacked space lighting, Chris made his own and found software that let him paint with lights.
Apparently you can paint with lights in Minecraft. Oh, there's no way, this is crazy.
It's amazing, don't you think? And from that detail, Chris realized that everything he was planning in his head would be possible, since the lighting would really help keep the project realistic. At this point, our house, or rather planet Earth, was already finished. We only have the other billions of planets in the universe left, and of course, in our Milky Way. Chris recalled that the universe contains not only giant but also small celestial bodies. Some are extremely tiny, up to 700,000 times smaller than Earth. Really? It's so small that walking across the entire celestial body would take just 5 days. And now things are going to start getting a little more complicated. Our warrior began building tilted celestial bodies, which is why he'll have to build and color in an unpleasant or even better crooked way that became a major problem. When he had to start designing Saturn, Chris spent an entire day just to create the planet's ring. Besides that, another interesting fact is that our warrior had to do some calculations to complete certain constructions. He even had to relearn the Pythagorean theorem, one of the most famous mathematical formulas, and for that he bought a whiteboard, so he could do calculations more quickly and instantly.
For the distance, this c squared would then be...
After days of hard work, design, creativity, block placement, and talent, Saturn was finally ready, and the final result was simply unbelievable. After that, Chris immediately started building the gas planets. They are the densest in our solar system, being the 3rd and 4th largest in the Milky Way as well. Yes, we're talking about Uranus and Neptune. Afterward, our warrior pushed harder, advancing to energy thousands of times stronger than any planet he had built before. This time we're talking about the sun. At first, the YouTuber was intimidated by the challenge this task presented to him. However, after a lot of study and analysis, he decided to take the risk. The goal was to make this star look like a radioactive globe of death. In addition to using Minecraft's brightest blocks, Chris added fire effects to the star, making it look alive with a scorching color. After the sun was finished, we could use a mod to see the star's structure. No more, no less than 1,000 chunks of distance at once.
1,000 chunks of distance at once. Oh my god, I'm playing with 1,000 chunks now. This is so cool.
This is impressive and shows great dedication. We won't stop at the Milky Way, we'll go further. We want every single trace of material existence in the universe, and for that we only have 200 trillion other stars left. Let's go. Now an interesting question comes up and deserves to be raised. How are we going to build, for example, a nebula, a black hole, a complete galaxy, or anything else on that level? If we can hardly carry our solar system, we have a plan. Of course, we won't be able to replicate the universe in this single Minecraft map, however, we can still do something big. Every upcoming build will be done exactly to the same scale as it is in real life. Meanwhile, the size of the universe will be exponentially larger in light years, so what now? Chris started an intense search for the best images he could find on this topic, even finding photos that showed the main pillars of the structures of outer space. Finally, he returned and got to work. Our hero then decided to use linear structures to define the spreadsheet. The new entity aimed to make everything identical, as he did with Earth. This time, he will build a nebula. After days of hard work, clouds of space gas began forming, making it look more realistic. But now, an interesting fact. This thing he's building is over 1,000 times larger than our solar system. And Chris admitted that he never imagined Minecraft would reach this level, since we're not just building planets but galactic entities more powerful than anything we can even imagine. It's also interesting to point out that the Nebula used every block available in Minecraft for its construction. It took 2 whole days of work just to paint the Nebula before Chris could move on to its other elements. Remember that it also includes its stars, its rays of light, and many other objects that were painted with the same precision as the image that was used as a reference. After all the magnificent and hard work, the great Nebula was ready. Chris had created a work of art so perfect and realistic that he convinced himself that by showing the image of the giant cloud to a friend, he would convince them that it was a real image. So that's what he did. After finishing the project, he started a video call with his friend Noah so he could show him the image of the Nebulosa. And this was his reaction.
My god, did you make this or is it just the image?
Anyway, for now, the progress of our universe was already around 40%, and this really motivated the YouTuber to keep going, and the next task will probably be the most challenging so far. That's because we're talking about the most powerful object in the universe, which there's no way to escape from, and it's much heavier than millions of stars combined. Yes, we're talking about a black hole as the base. He chose the supermassive black hole from the movie Interstellar, and he hadn't even started yet and was already feeling lost. He even had to use his board to do some calculations, just like he had done before. After 5 hours of prep design and calculations, he began by building a large suspended disc to represent Doppler radiation, then constructed a structure covering the star to represent the disc's exterior, and finally he finished the object itself. Altogether, the black hole has 3 discs around it, and each of them needs to be bent inward to make it more realistic. Next, it was necessary to curve 2 of the 3 discs of the black hole, and these have completely different sizes. At this point, Chris had already been working on this black hole project for about 8 hours, trying to figure out the best way to finish this task. Suddenly, our warrior had an insight and realized he could use hundreds of lines of blocks as a guide for a perfect curvature. No sooner said than done. After hours of work, he finally finished designing and building all the astro discs. But now, do you remember that I said using light for painting would be essential? Well, the initial intention was to make the black hole the brightest object in the entire video. More than billions of suns combined, there can be no mistakes in this task. Every line and structure will need to be in perfect accordance with reality. That is, we will create a perfect illusion of the rings collapsing. And after painting the outside of the larger ring, Chris shaded the inner part of the star using some effects. In addition, he placed just a few other blocks to simulate the existence of gas bubbles just like in real life. After all that effort, which took days and a lot of sweat, our black hole was finally ready to be admired.
This is much better than I imagined. This is the most satisfying build I've ever made.
Now it's time to move forward and build a cosmic scale object that shines as brightly as the automatic brunette. We're talking about a galaxy. However, we won't limit ourselves to creating just one, but rather an entire set of these beauties. At this point, something curious is that Chris no longer wanted to see galaxies just in pictures on the internet, but now he wanted to see them in real life, with his own eyes, or better yet, with his own telescope. That being said, our warrior decided to climb a mountain located several kilometers high, together with a friend, with the purpose of observing outer space through his telescope and getting inspired to replicate the object in his Minecraft world. And a fun fact is that Ian, the friend who will be part of this adventure, was the first person Chris met in person. After 2 consecutive weeks locked in his room working, after hours of climbing, Ian and Chris finally reached the top of the mountain. They, who started the hike in the morning, arrived at the place in the evening, and after some time, it was already time to set up our telescope. And the result of that was similar. The experience was very disappointing. Chris couldn't see anything he wanted through his telescope. So the warrior went home, used the computer, researched more, and decided a sedentary life is better. He just needed Minecraft to see the universe. Finally, after everything, the YouTuber begins the Bold Great Galaxies project. The beginning, as always, was extremely complicated and took several hours just to build a single line, but in short, that's going to be our plan. Placing several thousand blocks at the galaxy's center will make it appear dark. After that, we'll add a kind of swirl or spider web to simulate the gases that surround this celestial object. However, there's still a problem. As it is, the structure still looks quite realistic, and the only way to make it look like real life is to use the lighting tricks that were used on the other objects. If that fails, the galactic project must be scrapped since lighting is the most crucial part of this task. But when Chris flipped the switch, he saw one of the most beautiful creations in Minecraft history.
It wasn't just work, I brought them to life. You're welcome. I had a realistic galaxy shining on the steering wheel.
However, that was just the first of several others that were still left, so let's get straight to the point. After the first, building more galaxies became easy for Legend Chris, who created them using different shades, colors, shapes, and structures.
It only went downhill. Then I moved on, refining the process and adding new shades and variations. I created galaxy after galaxy, filling my new cosmos until darkness sparkled with 1 trillion stars swirling through space.
So far, we have created the entire celestial structure that makes up our experience in this universe. Now it's time to see if these constructions can stand up to the mighty and humbling force of the cosmos. Our final step is to create a structure that replicates our entire universe from a specific perspective. First, we need to create a large bright bubble that, from a distance, resembles a spider web with many connections and smaller stars, and near this new star, the galaxies we made earlier are so small that they compare to a single Minecraft block pixel. And I'm not exaggerating, the estimated construction time is at least a whole week. Our hero began building with blocks simulating the brightest part, then created every galactic intersection. However, a problem had arisen. Just like before, this construction didn't look anything like real life. It looked more like a tangled mess of wires. With that, Chris spent several more hours filling in all the other empty intersections using blocks shaped like gases and stars. Besides that, of course, he also used lighting tricks to bring light to the scene. In total, it took 50 hours to complete this single task. Knowing it was nearly impossible to build every star, Chris still went and completed the mission expertly. So, after a month of creativity, design, calculations, headaches, and a lot of hard work, the universe is finally right before our eyes. This was one of the best projects ever narrated on the channel. Full credits are in the description. Join the channel's Discord to stay up to date with events and chat. Check out the store as well to see the shirts and hoodies. I'm sure you guys will enjoy it. A big hug and take care.